Thank you, Jeff. That was, I think we're very lucky in New York State to have an organization like NYSERD. It's a very unique organization that, frankly, I'm not sure if any other state has anyone that's clearly as comprehensive, that's focused both on the supply side and the demand side, if you will, bringing emerging PV technology, well, energy technologies to market. Our next panelist is going to present. His name is Dr. Yash Puri, and let me just see if I can multitask here. And here we go. Dr. Puri is co-founder, executive vice president, and CFO of Magnolia Solar, Inc., a company developing a thin-film solar panel technology using nano-engineered materials for high efficiency. He is also a co-founder of Magnolia Optical Technologies, and he is responsible for overseeing Magnolia's financial operations. Dr. Puri has many years of photovoltaic technology and applications experience, both in the private sector and in academia. Dr. Puri holds a BS in physics, an MS in solid-state physics, and an MBA from the University of Delhi. He also holds an MBA in finance and a DBA in international business from Indiana University, Bloomington. Please welcome Dr. Yash Puri.
Thank you, Mike. Well, as you said, we are actually listed on the OTC, so I have to give you this legal statement. But anything I say is full of risk, so please weigh the risks accordingly. We are a startup. We're actually located in the incubator at Auburn Nanotech. We are funded by NYSERD. And our primary goal really at this point is to develop a solar cell technology that can come in at significantly less than $1 per watt. And we're building I'm not really the smart one, I'm the financial guys, the physicist is not here. But I can tell you in general terms, what we're trying to do is about 4 or 5 different things. One, we're going to be working with low-cost substrates, and these are essentially glass, indium tin oxide gold-coated glass, ITO glass. And our goal is to enhance the spectrum of the sun that is absorbed when the sunlight falls. Most technologies cut off in a narrow range. The silicon technology is cut off from 400 to 1,000 nanometers. Our goal is to expand that from 350 to about 1,400 nanometers, so that we can absorb a lot more of the sun's energy that falls on the earth. How we're going to do that? We're going to do is through some nanostructure insertion. We have some technologies that we're working on by inserting a nanostructure particles which will absorb these parts of the spectrum, solar spectrum, which are traditionally not absorbed by most cells. We're also working on some special coating technology. Again, that part is also funded by NYSERD partly. The goal of the technology is when the sunlight falls, if you have no protection at all, roughly 30% of that will get reflected back. Of course, it varies by the angle and so on. The typical solar cells you see little bluish glaze on that. That's really anti-reflection coating on those, and that cuts it down to about 5-6% in most cases. The technology we're working on, and that technology we're working with RPI, that has the promise of cutting this down to somewhere between 1 to 2% range. So that means you could retain that much more energy in the cell, and therefore you improve the efficiency. Another piece that we're working on really is the difference between a silicon versus thin film cell really is that the path of light in the cell itself is much smaller. And a silicon cell is 200 to 300 microns. This is about 6 to 7 microns. So you have a much smaller travel path. So we are using some nanotechnologies to scatter the light horizontally in the cell, so that the path of the cell increases and the photon has a great chance of being absorbed. So thereby again adding to the efficiency of the cell. So really our target really is that when we are done with some of these innovations, that will end up at significantly less than $1 a watt in the end price at an efficiency of about 17%. So at that point, you are really getting into the efficiency which is probably the best commercial facilities in silicon right now. I think most commercial facilities are 15 to 16% range in the silicon market. But there are a few that are about 17% range. So with this one, we can get to about silicon efficiency, silicon cell efficiency with a much lower cost because we don't really have the silicon wafer to start with. Silicon wafer typically costs about 90 cents to $1 per watt in wafer cost alone. I come from previously, prior to forming this, I was the first vice president of the company called GT Solar. This is before they were called GT Solar. They were at that time GT Equipment, which is one of the world's largest equipment supplier for silicon-based solar cells. So I understand very well what the cost structure there is, and this cost structure we think is much better. The brief history of the company that we were formed in 2008. It was essentially a spin-out of Magnolia Optical Technologies. Magnolia Optical Technologies works in a variety of defense R&D projects, which span the range of sensors from IR to UV for various Department of Defense needs. We realized that most of the spectrum piece that we're working with is the spectrum of the sunlight, and so we spun out Magnolia Solar as a separate company and licensed all of the optical technologies to Solar Company as a starting point for only the solar applications. So we kept all the knowledge base and all the IP for defense applications in the optical company. So that's how the company was spun off. Initially financed by the parent, then we took our ideas to NYSERDA. They were very receptive. They funded us for one project to integrate some of these technologies that we have into a finished solar cell. We're working on that now. And then we went back to NYSERDA for a second one, which is to integrate the horizontal scattering and the light trapping piece of the solar technology, and they have funded us for that also. We also received funding from the Air Force and some other sources that we really haven't announced in the public markets yet, but should be announcing soon. We filed over the last year several patents. We just had a release about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, or more than half a dozen patents have been filed to protect the intellectual property for solar applications and all these. I have about 40 slide presentation here. I could go on till about 8:30 or 9, but I think you are anxious to get back to questions, so I'll stop here and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. That was very interesting. We're going to start to see the panel start to fill out as we have each speaker, and you can see the diversity that we'll have. Our next speaker is Guy Schleicher. Did I say that right? Yeah. Guy is the Director for Renewable Energy Resources and Technology at the New York Power Authority, the nation's largest state-owned power organization. Mr. Schleicher has been working in the distributed generation and renewable energy fields for 20 years, primarily with public and private electric utility companies. At his current position at NYPA, Mr. Schleicher is responsible for the implementation of the company's distributed energy resources, renewable energy, and electric transportation programs. He has a BA in economics and an MS in mechanical engineering, both from the University of Massachusetts. Please welcome Guy Schleicher. Thank you.
Thanks. So it's really great to be here. I didn't prepare any slides. I'm just going to speak for a few minutes, and then we'll go to the panel discussion. Just to give you a quick overview of the New York Power Authority. When I was asked to participate on this panel, I wasn't quite sure why. I mean, if you're a budding entrepreneur, you definitely should make a beeline for either Jeff or Michael or perhaps some of the other ones. Richard. The Power Authority doesn't really interface very much with entrepreneurs per se, but let me give you a little bit of sense of what we do for those of you that don't know. We are the nation's largest state-owned electric utility company. We supply about 20% of the power used in New York State, most of that coming from 2 large hydroelectric facilities in upstate New York, in western New York and in upstate New York, the Niagara River project and the St. Lawrence project up in Messina, New York. We don't have any retail customers per se. We have less than, I think, 1,000 customers in total that consume about 20% of the energy used in New York. So these are large institution, generally public institutional customers. We only have energy customers in Southeast New York, meaning for us that means Westchester County and New York City. And there we provide power to public agencies. New York City subway system is an example. New York City public housing, public schools, hospitals, things like that. In upstate New York, we provide power to municipal utilities and rural electric cooperatives. We also provide some power through economic development programs to entities that will receive low-cost power from our hydro resources in return for retaining or creating jobs in New York State. As part of what, that's generally what New York Power Authority does in general. We also have an energy services and technology business unit where I work, where the name of the game is efficiency. We spend about $175 million per year on energy audits for public institutions and schools statewide. And we take those audits and turn them into retrofit measures. So we will do light bulbs, chillers, motors, boilers, all sorts of stuff in order to save energy. Again, it's a pretty big program. It's basically an ESCO model where the New York Power Authority will finance the cost of those retrofits to be paid back through a cost recovery program that is basically the amount of savings that those measures afford is what we get back for financing the project. Efficiency is really our first, the thing that we do first in energy services, but that has led us to other technologies, and that's sort of where my group gets involved, where we see an opportunity for photovoltaics, for energy storage, for wind power, electric transportation. We do have offerings in that. So we've done a fair amount of work. We have about 100 PV systems installed around the state, a couple megawatts worth of capacity in total. We are working on some distributed wind opportunities for campuses, SUNY campuses in upstate New York. We have an energy storage program. As an example, we're looking to put in an energy storage battery with a wind at SUNY Canton to effectively make a fairly large-scale single turbine generator on that campus somewhat dispatchable. We are looking at compressed air energy storage to help integrate renewables, intermittent renewables onto the grid. And we have put in place about 1,200 electric vehicles, electric drive vehicles statewide with our stakeholders, with well over 11 million miles traveled on electric drive transportation. So why are we here? It's sort of hard to say. We interface with sort of renewables largely in two ways: by installing technology through demonstration programs, some of which I've just mentioned. Another way we do that is through power purchase agreements, and that's a lot of where some of these clean energy companies are starting to be able to get their backing. As an example of that, the New York Power Authority is currently evaluating bids for what we call the 100 megawatt statewide solar initiative. This is an initiative where we bid out a request for pricing from 100 megawatts worth of solar electric equipment is installed at schools and government facilities statewide behind the meter. We expect to enter into a power purchase agreement with several entities who will go and install PV equipment behind the meter at schools and government facilities and sell that energy to NYPA. We will in turn sell it to the host site, the school or the government facility. This is a way for that solar developer to find the commitment needed so that they can raise the capital to go into this kind of an investment and essentially into this kind of a business model. That's part of how we are able to provide incentive and help to grow the industry in New York State. That's it. That's better.
Thank you.